now I'm going to talk a little bit about speed reserve and sprint capacity. Two things that you need to be equipped. If you're thinking about going to a sprint-based program, a Feed the Cats program, you need to be able to explain things. I know a lot of you are very concerned explaining things to those old school dads. You might have to explain things to your athletic director when he asks why you're not practicing 3 hours like everybody else is. You're going to have to explain the ideas, the science, the theories behind what we do. So first of all, speed reserve, I think can best be said that if you're training at 100 miles an hour, 80 feels comfortable. We realize that nobody is truly playing football at their absolute top speed. They're playing at maybe 90%, maybe 85, who knows, I don't like percentages. But the idea is that the higher your ceiling, the higher your floor will be. That even at a comfortable pace, you will still be faster than your opponent if you can get your top speed like this guy. Now, if you're training at 60, which is the traditional approach, lots of conditioning, lots of toughness, lots of slogans in the locker room. If you're training at 60 miles per hour, which is still, it still looks like very high effort. It's just continuous motion high effort, which means it's slow. Then 80 miles per hour might be out of the question. You might not be able to hit 80 miles per hour. Or when you try to do it, you'll cramp up in the first game, maybe the second game, you'll get tired fast. I mean, you'll drop passes because you're not used to running at that speed. So speed reserve is the whole idea that the faster your max speed is, the faster your sub max. Now, these silhouettes look like a cross-country team or something. And man, there's a lot of cross-country coaches wanting me to come out and say that all football players should run cross-country now. And I have never discouraged a kid from running cross-country, but it is, I just wrote this maybe 2 hours ago to a cross-country coach, that running cross-country will not improve a football player's speed, period. Now, I think the cross-country would be a lot better idea than going home after school every day. You know, so there's nothing wrong with it. And, you know, maybe it'll be something that changes their life and they'll run marathons at the age of 60 and all that kind of stuff. But we cannot pretend that this type of running creates the mechanics or the central nervous system needed to be a great football player. And so we say that speed creates endurance, but endurance negates speed. So what we mean here is that if you can run 22 miles an hour, you can be tired in the fourth quarter and run 20. Once again, that is speed reserve. 22 miles an hour, you're really fast. You're still really fast in the fourth quarter because your ceiling is so high. Whereas if you are constantly neglecting speed and power and elasticity in your workouts, and you are constantly training in a state of fatigue, which is traditional, that actually negates speed. So if you possibly could have been a 22 mile an hour guy, but you've never trained to do it. Maybe you're a 21 mile an hour guy who's tired, so he's really like a 19 mile an hour guy. Well, that guy is just not, he's slow. That's all there is to it. Is it just me, or do slow players have more trouble with fatigue? I guarantee, and I think Brad brought this up with the Chris Corfus, Dan Fichter thing, that when you are fast, when you learn sprint mechanics, when you are elastic. Now, remember, elastic means like a rubber band. By the way, a stretched rubber band doesn't shoot very far. A tired rubber band doesn't shoot very far. So you want to stay fresh. So if you think about the best runners, a guy that wins a race, seldom does that guy look tired. He's probably not, because he's so efficient. He's not using much energy. He's so elastic that his his ATPs and his muscles are not being used very much. It's like, it's unfair. And the person who gets last, he's huffing and puffing because he's like pushing and straining and use those muscles that he built in the weight room. And I just think that slow guys get tired. So I think we want fast guys all the time. And if we really want fast guys, we need to stop being tired. Aerobic running fucks up mechanics, confuses the CNS, and kills cats. And remember, it's not just the wide receivers we're talking about here, that we want to make our offensive tackles more cat-like. We want our linebackers to be more cat-like. By the way, linebackers in the NFL right now are faster than running backs. Think about that for a second. They are faster than running backs. The only running back taken in the first round was a guy from LSU who went to the Chiefs, and he's slow. He's like a stumpy, slow guy with good hands. He's a great blocker. He's an additional blocker and a release guy in the passing game. Whereas there are linebackers, there are many linebackers who were like nearly state champions in the 100 meters. So we need to really train all of our athletes as cats. And if we don't, they're just going to have strides like these pitiful distance runners. Remember, endurance never creates speed. I can see this guy, I see people like at schools doing workouts all the time when I'm doing speed training with some kid, and I'll see people working their ass off, and I'll just shake my head like, okay, you're working your ass off, but you're getting slower. I mean, like, what sport are you in where you want to run 100 stadium stairs? What sport is that going to do? Well, he probably has some conditioning tests that he's training for, which, by the way, how crazy is that? That you condition all summer to pass a conditioning test that does not reflect football type of skills. Just think about that. It's absolutely crazy. Now we'll get to sprint capacity. Speed creates sprint capacity. Sprint capacity does not improve speed. Now let me explain. Okay, so sprint capacity is your ability to run fast, let's say 50 times. Nice round number. I believe, we'll go back to that 22-mile-an-hour guy. 22 miles an hour, real fast for a high school guy. If you can run 22 miles an hour, I believe you can run 19 miles an hour 50 times. So speed creates sprint capacity because you can sub-max it and feel pretty good about it. But let's say you get it backwards as a coach. Let's say you're training your guys to run 50 sprints all summer. Well, that doesn't improve speed because you're at sub-max all summer. You've got to be at max all summer to improve your speed. So the whole idea that you abandon, and this is everywhere in sports, and it's always been 100% wrong, that we put sprint capacity ahead of absolute sprint ability. So before we start trying to get a guy to run 50 at 19 miles an hour, we want to get that guy to go 22 miles an hour so he can do that. I mean, the idea that we're going to take somebody that runs 18 miles an hour and train him by doing 50 sprints every day, shoot, we're going to coach him all the way down to 16 or get him hurt. Now, you know, we've done a lot of timing and stuff at Plainfield North, and I love this graph. We got a new football coach in 2019, and you know, now we have COVID, so that's why those other years aren't up there. But when I first got to Plainfield North, brand new school, we had 3 guys under 4.60 in the 40. In 2017, we had 32. What year did we play for the state championship? 3 guesses, and the first 2 don't count. It was 2017. We played against East St. Louis, ranked number 9 in the nation, and we got beat 26-13 with a poor game plan, in my opinion. I believe it could have been much closer. Believe it or not, I believe we had more team speed than East St. Louis that year. We had 32 kids in our high school running sub 460. Now, that is exactly the type of blueprint that you should look for. You know, you say that, you know, if you see a turtle on a fence post, it didn't get there by accident. Well, if you have 32 kids running sub 4.60 in the 40, it didn't get there by accident. It got there by staying absolutely dedicated, extreme in our dedication, in our priority, that not only going to prioritize speed and power. By power, I'm talking about jumping, by the way, more than I am lifting. Not only are we going to prioritize it, but we're not going to let anything conflict, anything We're not going to have a Monday where we go on a 6-mile run that ruins Tuesday and Wednesday. We're not going to do that. We're not going to let anything mess with our sprint workouts. For example, my teams never do tempo running. We just don't. We don't do slow running. We only sprint.